4,000 years ago, a woman walked up to the most powerful religious authorities on earth and just calmly informed them that every single god they worshipped was actually just a fraction of her.
Yeah, which is just a wild thing to do.
Right. I mean, today we're looking at how that single audacious claim didn't just disrupt a religion, but actually created this hyper-specific blueprint for human psychology that we are honestly still trying to catch up to today.
We really are. And I'm thrilled to be here to talk about this, by the way, because we are peeling back the layers on a text that it stops being mere history at a certain point and functions as an active, almost aggressive psychological intervention.
Yeah, I'm your host, and I'm so excited to jump into this with you, our resident expert. So we have this incredible stack of sources today detailing a deep historical and spiritual analysis of the origins of the divine feminine in Hinduism. And our deep dive today is focused on a 4,000-year-old poem from the Rig Veda called the Devi Sukta, written by a female seer named Vak Ambrini. And so our mission today, the goal of this whole deep dive, is to trace how her one ancient declaration of I am laid the groundwork for an entire spiritual tradition known as Shaktism.
Yeah.
And how it completely redefined what personal power looks like and offered a radical manual really for the psychology of surrender.
The sheer scale of what this text accomplishes is just staggering. I mean, we are dissecting a worldview formulated millennia ago that contains these biological and psychological insights that modern people spend, decades in therapy trying to internalize.
Exactly. So let's set the stage a bit, because the historical context is what makes Vak Ambrini's declaration so earth-shattering.
Oh, absolutely. You have to picture the world she was living in.
Right. So we are traveling back to roughly 2000 BC, so about 4,000 to 5,000 years ago in the region, stretching from the Indus Valley down to the Gangetic Plains. And you have these ancient Vedic communities, and their entire societal rhythm revolves around these continuous burning fires.
Yeah, fires everywhere.
Like the air is just thick with smoke, and you have these priests constantly chanting highly complex mantras, making offerings to a very established, deeply entrenched pantheon of mostly male gods.
Yeah, and at the time, human spirituality was, it was heavily compartmentalized.
What do you mean by compartmentalized?
Well, it's a highly transactional universe. You had the 11 Rudras, the 8 Vosus, the 12 Adityas. Think of them almost like cosmic department heads.
Okay, cosmic department heads. I like that.
Yeah, you had major deities like Agni managing fire, Indra handling weather and warfare, Varuna presiding over cosmic law and order. The prevailing belief system was strictly bureaucratic.
Right, so like an organizational chart for the universe.
Exactly. If you wanted a specific result like rain for your crops or protection against an enemy or healthy children, you went to the specific god in charge of that department.
Okay.
You made a physical offering, usually soma, which is a ritual drink or clarified butter called ghee, pouring it directly into the fire, and in return you received a blessing.
So it's a very structured, predictable system. You put the offering in the fire, God gets it, you get the blessing. It keeps society running.
Right, it's very safe, very orderly.
But then enter Vak Ambrini.
Yes.
Her name literally translates to sound, and she is the daughter of the sage Ambrin. She is a female seer known as a rishi, meaning she has achieved this profound level of visionary insight. And she writes this poem, the Devi Sukta, and steps up to her tribe with what has to be the most audacious declaration in ancient history.
It really is.
She essentially says, I am the divine mother, I am Brahmin.
And we should clarify that terminology immediately because it's a crucial distinction.
Oh, yeah, the spelling thing.
Yes. She isn't saying she is a Brahmin with an I, which refers to the human priest class conducting those fire rituals.
Okay.
She is claiming to be Brahmin with an A, the formless, infinite, ultimate cosmic reality that underpins the entire universe.
Wow.
She is telling them that all of these powerful, distinct gods they are bartering with, they all emerge from her. The fabric of the universe itself comes from her.
I was trying to think of how to frame this level of disruption for a modern listener. And it's kind of like a lone junior employee walking into a boardroom filled with the most powerful, intimidating global CEOs on the planet.
Just absolute titans of industry.
Right, exactly. And she just slams her hand on the table and calmly explains every successful project you've ever executed actually came from me.
Wow.
And by the way, all your budgets, they belong to me.
That analogy captures the shock value perfectly. I mean, she didn't just claim the successes, she claimed the actual physical substance of their daily rituals.
The ghee and the soma.
Exactly. She told those priests, all that soma, all that ghee you're pouring into the fires to appease Agni or Indra, it actually goes directly to me. I am the one consuming it.
That is just so bold.
And she goes further. She says, and the blessings you think you're getting back from those individual gods, they flow entirely from me. I am the source of both the offering and the reward.
How does an incredibly tribal society process a claim like that? Because historically, human beings love their tribes. We love our specific gods, our specific flags, our specific political parties.
Oh, we cling to them.
Yeah, we do. So how did they react?
Well, they processed it by eventually reshaping their entire philosophical framework around it.
Yeah.
Vaughn-Cambrini's declaration struck at the very core of human tribalism
Okay.
by stating that she was the ultimate reality behind every known god. She shattered the illusion of division. She was telling humanity that behind every single faction, every single belief system, there is just one universal energy, one universal mother.
And the sources show this wasn't just a momentary disruption, right? That this one short poem became the guiding philosophical principle for the Upanishads, the foundational text that came centuries later.
Yes, it completely shifted the paradigm.
It forms the absolute bedrock of Shaktism, the tradition that worships the divine as female. Over thousands of years, her abstract conceptual form slowly evolves into something people could actually visualize.
Right, because humans need a face to look at.
Exactly. So around 600 BC, in the text called the Kina Upanishad, she takes the form of Uma Parvati, a radiant goddess of divine knowledge. And then another 1,000 years later, around 400 CE in the Markandeya Purana, she manifests as the fierce warrior goddess Durga or Chandi. All of these massive cultural ripples over millennia, all tracing back to this one woman standing by a Vedic fire saying, I am.
Tracing that evolution really shows humanity's need to give a face to the infinite. She established that the energy flowing into the universe is a singular embodied consciousness. It's the ultimate assertion of unity over compartmentalization.
But here's the thing. If she is the ultimate reality, how does a human body physically approach a power that massive?
That is the big question.
Right, and the sources pivot here, detailing incredibly specific physical practices that evolved to answer that exact question. And I found this fascinating because we usually think of spirituality as purely a state of mind, an internal feeling.
Just thoughts and prayers, basically.
Yeah, exactly. But these sources describe the human body almost like a piece of hardware with specific dials and levers. Look up for power, look down for love. Why is the physical posture so critical to this philosophy?
Because ancient yogic and tantric traditions refuse to separate the mind and the body the way we reflexively do in the modern West.
Oh, that makes sense.
To them, the physical posture isn't just a symbol of a psychological state. It is the trigger that creates the psychological state.
Wow.
If you want to approach the Divine Mother, you have two extreme options. You can arrogantly stand tall and demand things, feeding your own ego, or you can engage in total radical physical surrender, prostration.
Literally flattening your entire body on the ground, face in the dirt.
Flattening yourself completely with your hands extended above your head. In places like Tibet, Bhutan, and Nepal, you still see pilgrims prostrating for miles.
Yeah, I've seen videos of that. It's intense.
It is. And conceptually, this posture is designed to align all the chakras, the body's major energetic centers on the earth, simultaneously. From the root chakra at the base of the spine to the heart all the way to the third eye on the forehead, you are physically returning the ego to the dust.
There's a fascinating detail in the sources about the feet specifically. When people prostrate in these traditions, they are often directing their bodies toward the feet of a deity or a guru.
The feet hold immense significance in this framework. It's understood that the feet contain the highest concentration of nerve endings, making them the primary conduit where a guru's or a deity's energetic transmission enters the earth and flows outward into the devotee.
Oh, wow.
So bowing to the feet is about physically positioning your own highest center, your head, at the lowest point of the divine to receive that grace.
But it's not just the grueling full-body prostration either. Even the everyday simple act of bowing carries this intricate physiological meaning.
Yes, even the smallest gestures matter.
When you bow bending your neck forward, the sources explain that you are physically expanding the Vishuddha, the energy center at the back of the throat, and simultaneously lowering the Ajna, the third eye chakra in the front. You are mechanically forcing your center of intellect and overthinking to bow before the divine. And then there's the word spoken when the hands are brought together during a bow, which is namaha, or namaskar.
A word that is so often deeply misunderstood in the West.
Yes. I always thought it was essentially just an ancient way of saying hello or greetings.
Yeah, like a spiritual good morning.
Exactly. But namaha literally translates to "know me gone."
No me gone.
Yes. That sounds less like a greeting and more like a description of what modern psychology might call ego death, or even a profound flow state where the sense of self completely vanishes.
Bringing in the concept of the flow state is highly accurate here. It is the ultimate verbal act of surrendering all elements of control. You are gathering all your perceived power, your anxieties, your ambitions, pressing them together in your hands and telling the universe, I give them to you. The me is gone.
That is beautiful. And the part that really struck me as ancient biological hacking was the esoteric teachings on eye
Oh,
positioning.
the eye positions are fascinating.
The sources detail 3 specific ways to position your eyes during meditation, and each one acts like a different software program booting up in your brain.
Let's hear them.
Let's start with Shambhavi Mudra, which involves looking slightly up toward the middle of the forehead or the third eye and holding that gaze. The texts claim this opens Shiva consciousness and creates a feeling of concentrated power.
And there's a reason for that. Looking upward activates specific neural pathways associated with wakefulness, heightened alertness, and intense concentration. You are biologically stimulating a state of power and readiness.
Then you have a completely different approach with darshan.
Right, darshan is completely different.
Darshan being open-eyed meditation. You look directly straight ahead at a deity or a yantra. And for those unfamiliar, a yantra is a complex geometric symbol used as a visual focal point to represent divine energy.
In the act of darshan, the meditator isn't just passively absorbing a piece of art. They are actively projecting their own life energy into the physical object, intending for the object to reflect that energy back at them.
Like a loop.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You are intentionally colliding your focused energy with the divine energy represented in front of you. It's a dynamic active exchange.
Which brings us to the third position. Hridaya Mudra and its emotional output is a complete 180-degree shift.
The opposite end of the spectrum.
You look down at the tip of your nose or you close your eyes and drop your focus entirely down to the heart center. The sources say this awakens what they call Adi Shakti in the heart, generating instant feelings of overwhelming love and deep surrender.
Well, directing the gaze downward inherently triggers the relaxation response in the human body.
It's like typing different passwords into your nervous system, but there's actual biology backing this up.
Absolutely.
By looking down and focusing on the heart space, you're not just symbolically showing humility, you are physically stimulating the vagus nerve.
Yes, the vagus nerve is key.
You're signaling your parasympathetic nervous system to drop the fight or flight response. You're literally telling your body's hardware to stand down, generating that profound feeling of safety and surrender.
And that is the absolute genius of these ancient mechanics. The physical drop of the ego prepares the individual for something much more monumental.
How so?
These practices aren't just about achieving 20 minutes of peace in a temple. By physically forcing the body to abandon the ego, you are actively attacking the root cause of what these ancient traditions considered our greatest existential terror.
And the sources point directly to the concept of samsara here. In Vakambhrini's poem, we actually see one of the very first recorded declarations of samsara, which we usually translate in the West as reincarnation or the endless cycle of life, death, and rebirth.
Right, and the translation of reincarnation often makes the concept feel a bit distant to modern people, like it's a problem for later.
Yeah, like I'll worry about that in my next life.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But the sources frame samsara in a way that is agonizingly immediate. It's not just a concern for what happens after your physical body dies. It's a description of what happens every single morning when your alarm goes off.
This part really got me. So getting trapped in samsara isn't necessarily about dying and coming back as a frog. It's living in a mental Groundhog Day.
Yes.
It's waking up every morning with the exact same chattering voices in your head, the same anxieties about your inbox, the same imposter syndrome, the same relentless narrative of I am not good enough or I am not where I should be in life.
It's exhausting just thinking about it.
It really is. You're trapped in the agonizing rubbish of your own ego every single day. Unless you fundamentally surrender the idea that you are navigating this universe alone.
And that isolating independence is the ultimate trap of the ego. In the Devi Sukta, Vakambhrini explicitly declares that she is the eater of the food, the seer of the sights, the breather of the air.
So it's all her.
Everything a human being does, they actually do through her cosmic energy.
Okay.
The moment you step back and say, I did it, the moment you believe you achieved a promotion, built a family, or solved a problem entirely on your own without the cosmos slowing through you, You sever that vital connection. You become disjointed.
Because the moment you claim sole ownership of your successes, you also have to claim sole ownership of your failures.
Precisely.
You've taken the weight of the entire universe and put it squarely on your own fragile shoulders.
And carrying that weight is what throws you right back into that exhausting mental cycle of samsara. But the moment you shift your perspective and acknowledge that the universe acted through you, your daily actions cease to be mundane tasks.
They become something else entirely.
They become miracles of expression. You aren't just eating a meal. The divine is experiencing nourishment through your senses. You aren't just working on a project. The cosmic energy is manifesting an idea through your hands.
Now, realizing that you are a vessel for the universe, it sounds like a recipe for a very passive, quiet, Zen-like existence, just floating through life.
You think so, right?
Yeah, but the sources reveal a shocking duality in this divine feminine energy. It is not just about sitting peacefully under a tree. This energy is simultaneously a cosmic womb of infinite nurturing love and a terrifying, relentless warrior.
The depth of the Devi Sukta really shines in this duality. She utterly refuses to be categorized as merely a passive observer. Vak Ambrini declares with absolute ferocity that she fixes the arrows on the bow of Rudra to remove obstacles.
And remind us about Rudra. He is a notoriously fierce, terrifying god associated with violent storms and warfare.
A god of absolute destruction of ignorance. And Vak Ambrini is saying, I am the tension in his bowstring. I am the devastating force that drives his arrow.
Wow.
When humanity finds itself forced to go to war against dark forces, whether that is an external battle, fighting for justice and protecting the vulnerable, or an internal battle, fighting off our own darkest personal demons, she is the one fighting through us. She wages war to protect the balance of the world.
It is mind-blowing that the exact same ancient text is simultaneously arming warriors with arrows for brutal combat and then in the very next breath telling humanity, you are a baby sitting in my lap, stop being scared.
The emotional pivot in the final verses is breathtaking. I mean, after detailing her presence in the blood and dirt of warfare, she describes herself as the infinite ocean of pure consciousness.
The contrast is unbelievable.
She explains that the universe itself emerges from her yoni, her cosmic womb, often described as the golden egg radiating outward like waves of bliss.
She describes herself as the very first breeze, the initial breath of existence, when there was absolutely nothing else in the void. And she promises that all beings currently sit in the lap of her love and will eventually return to her.
The advice she offers humanity is profoundly reassuring. She essentially tells us, put your head in my lap and just weep. Let it all out. I look after everything.
Like a mother talking to an exhausted child.
Exactly. There is no logical need for fear or insecurity because the very fabric of reality is a mother who is already holding you.
Which brings us to the ultimate application of this knowledge, the concept of bhakti, or pure devotion. The sources, quote, the great 19th century mystic, Ramakrishna, who laid out a comparison that really crystallizes this. He pointed out that spiritual seekers can spend multiple lifetimes agonizing over jnana, which is the path of intense intellectual study and grueling logic, or punishing themselves with the extreme physical and mental disciplines of Raja Yoga.
Right, the hard paths.
But one moment of true bhakti, one moment of genuine surrendered devotion accomplishes the goal of all those other paths combined.
Ramakrishna understood why this text represents the most liberating psychology possible. The modern misconception of surrender is that it equals defeat.
Giving up.
We think surrendering means making ourselves weak or small. But in the framework of the Devi Sukta, when you practice bhakti, when you truly surrender, you are doing the exact opposite.
You're expanding.
You are dropping the tiny, fragile, anxiety-ridden boundaries of your individual ego and allowing yourself to merge with the infinite power that is actually running the show.
It's like finally taking off a heavy backpack full of bricks that you never actually needed to carry.
Why be paralyzed by anxiety over the microscopic details of your daily life when the cosmic mother, the entity that breathed the stars into existence, has explicitly told you she's handling it?
Yeah.
The I is the illusion that causes our suffering. The cosmic I am is the reality that cures it.
So whether you approach this deep dive today as an exploration of a foundational religious text, or if you just strip away the theology and look at it as pure cognitive psychology, the concept of Vakambhrini's I am offers this brilliant 4,000-year-old shortcut.
Really good.
It's a proven mechanism for letting go of our daily anxieties, stepping out of our exhausting Groundhog Day mental loops, and dropping the heavy armor of the ego.
It serves as a stark reminder that our desperate obsession with our own individual agency, our need to control every outcome, is the very fire burning us.
We aren't just looking at a dusty artifact behind museum glass today. We've been looking at a mirror reflecting our own modern anxieties.
Beautifully said.
And it leaves me with one final thought to chew on. We live in a culture that is utterly obsessed with self-reliance. We are told to build our personal brands, to embrace the relentless hustle to be entirely self-made.
Brian 24/7.
Exactly. The message is clear. If you aren't grinding 24/7 on your own, you're failing. But if the greatest ancient minds found ultimate universe-bending power, not in the hustle, but in total surrender, is it possible that our modern obsession with independence is actually the very cage keeping us trapped, limiting our true potential?